Hello everyone and hello Mr. Ruli. My name is Adina Dinan Askia. I'm going to present an argumentative paragraph analysis based on the journal I selected from the Science Journal. The article I choose is titled Linguistic Relationship and Dialect Variation of Banten Javanese and Sundanese in Indonesia, written by Juansa, Makarius, and Basuki and published in the year of 2025. Based on my active reading of this study, I collaborated with Gemini to generate a strong argumentative paragraph. I am holding the printout of that paragraph right here and reads as follows. Despite popular cultural perception that treat Banten Javanese and Banten Sundanese as entirely distinct, separate linguistic system, historical comparative analysis reveals that they are deeply intertwined branches of a shared ancestral lineage. Admittedly, casual observers often emphasize the mutual unintelligibility of political friction between speech community to assert separate identities. However, empirical data from Yuansai et al. 2025 strongly refutes this isolationist view. Their lexicostatistical analysis identified 51 pairs of identical cognate words sharing absolute morphemic and phonemic similarities. Furthermore, glottochronological tracking shows that these variations are not random modern developments, but rather the result of a historical divergence from a common proto-language occurring between 1171 and 3011 BC. Therefore, while regional factors have undoubtedly shaped modern dialectal variation, these local tones should be viewed as collaborative testaments to regional historical contact rather than isolated independent language. Now, let us break the structural scaffolding of this paragraph. An argumentative paragraph does not narrowly summarize. It weaponizes data to defend a specific stance. Here. To build a persuasive argument in academic writing, you can scaffold your paragraph using a four-step blueprint. The first one is the claim. The claim or the thesis here is in the sentence of despite popular cultural perceptions that treat Banten Japanese and Banten Sundanese are as entirely distinct separate linguistic systems. Historical comparative analysis reveals that they are deeply intertwined branches of a shared ancestral lineage. The purpose of this paragraph is to stabilize the core argument immediately signaling to the reader that the paragraph will challenge a common misconception using comparative linguistics. Number two is concessions. The concessions or counter argument in this argumentative paragraph is admittedly casual observers often emphasize the mutual unintelligibility or political friction between speech communities to assert separate identities. The purpose of this paragraph is to anticipating and validating an opposing viewpoint, to demonstrate objectivity and make your overall arguments less dogmatic. Number three is the weaponized evidence. The weaponized evidence in this argumentative paragraph is, however, empirical data from Yuansha et al. 2025 strongly refutes these isolationist views. Their lexicostatistical analysis identified, identified 51 pairs of identical cognate words, sharing absolute morphemic and poemic similarities. Furthermore, glottochronological tracking shows that these variations are not random modern development, but rather the result of a historical divergence from a common proto-language occurring between 100 1071 and 1000 and 311 BC. The purpose of this paragraph is pivots back to Eustace to weaponize the journal's quantitative findings, the 51 cognates, and the specific BC timeline to completely dismantle the counter argument. And the final point is the final resolutions or the synthesis. The paragraph is, therefore, while regional factors have undoubtedly shaped modern dialectal variation, these local tongues should be viewed as collaborative testaments to regional historical contact rather than isolated independent languages. The purpose of this paragraph is to tie the evidence back to the big picture, synthesizing the thesis and leaving the reader with a definitive conclusion. Okay, so beyond its structural framework, this paragraph is highly persuasive because of its strategic of use meta discourse. I would like to point out how it balances both interactive and interactional markers. First, let's take a look at this interactive meta discourse, which guides the reader through the text. So, meta discourse is a glue that tells readers how to read your argument. It is divided into interactive tools which organize the text and interactional tools which express your writerly persona and manage your relationship with the reader. Okay, so the interactive meta discourse or organizing the logic. Number one is transition. Words like despite, admittedly, however, furthermore, and therefore serve as logical signposts. They guide the reader step by step through the shifting perspective of the argument, from concession to refutation and conclusion. Number two is codoglosses. The interactive meta-discourse in codoglosses is in the phrase like identifying 51 pairs of identical cognate words, sharing absolute morphemic and poemic similarities. And as codoglosses, they repress, clarify, and flesh out what lexicostatistical analysis means in practical terms, ensuring the reader fully grasps the weight of the evidence. And the last is Hayes, an interactional metadiscourse. Number one is Hayes. Words like often and undoubtedly soften the claims slightly by setting the regional factors undoubtedly shape variation. You acknowledge nuances without letting it derail your main thesis. The next is boosters. Boosters in the terms like strongly refutes, reveals, and absolute are boosters. They are boosters. They express and they express certainty, projecting confidence in the empirical data and making the reputation looks mathematically undeniable. And the last is engagement markers. Engagement engagement markers are in the phrase like should be viewed as act as an invitation or a directive to the audience, pulling the reader into the academic consensus you are considering, like self-mentions, like I or my, was intentionally omitted here to maintain a more objective, tradi- traditional scientific tone common in linguistics. Okay, so in conclusion, collaborating with Gemini allowed me to see exactly how professional academic writing balance rigid structural scaffolding with interpersonal meta-discourse to make a compelling argument. Okay, that's all the analysis paragraph argument from me. Thank you for watching. Bye.